Hey everybody, welcome to wasmCloud Wednesdays for Wednesday, January the 5th, 2022, our first meeting of the new year. We've got three new members on the call today that have joined. Maybe not new community members though. Matt, do you want to take a quick second and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hey guys, I'm Matt Wilkinson. I've been working on Wash a little bit, updating some of the JSON outputs and the tests and kind of doing some refactors on that. I got involved in wasmCloud just from seeing you guys on Twitter, and I thought the project was really cool. So I'm glad to contribute and hopefully, be a part of this awesome project. Thanks.
Thanks for being a part of the community, Matt. It is amazing how quickly the community is growing. June, I think this is your first call as well. Do you want to hop? You want a chance to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Jingan. I'm based in Toronto. I've been actively being involved into the past platform development work and the architecture. So while exploring new technologies, what's going to be the next thing for our product, we think Wasm might be a good fit into our big product portfolio. So wasmCloud definitely already made some progress by encapsulating some common and solving some cross-cutting concerns. So something we want to explore further. Yeah.
That's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
And do you mind sharing where you're at as far as employers?
Oh, I'm currently with Huawei.
Okay, good, great.
Yeah.
And then Shiki, you're also new. And did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yeah, Shihua Wang. Yeah, my name is Shihua Wang, and yeah, me and Jingan are from same company, and he's my supervisor, and we are working on the same project. And currently, I've been investigating WebAssembly for quite a long time, and I recently I got to know the wasmCloud, and I tried it out the demo, and which is really amazing, and so I want to dig it out. So that's why I came here to participate this meeting. Yeah,
Thank you so
thank you.
much.
Connor, do you mind doing an introduction of yourself?
Sure. Can you hear me okay? Cool. Yeah, my name's Connor Smith. I just joined Cosmonic last week. I'm kind of new to the cloud native space, but learning a lot. I'm very, very excited by this tech in a way that I haven't felt in a long time. So everything I'm seeing from the community is super exciting, and I'm just very enthusiastic about learning more.
Great. And we like to start our meetings off with a demo, and today's demo is going to be Taylor. Taylor, you take it over.
Sweet. We'll go ahead and share the screen, which for you longtime watchers of this meeting is a miracle. So let's go ahead and share this. Okay. You should all see the wasmCloud dashboard, the washboard. Is that correct? Sweet. Okay, so what I'm going to demo today is this is something that was just merged into main. It's not released yet on an official wasmCloud host release, but it is showing support for bindles. Now, before I go in, just the boring part is just making sure people know what bindles are. So Bindle is a project which I'm a maintainer on as well, which kind of explains why this got added, but we're all friends here. But also there are good reasons why we want to do this. This isn't just some pet project or thing that we want to try out. So Bindle is a new object storage format that is specifically meant to be used for WebAssembly and for anything where you have like a collection of various parts of an application together. So we call aggregate object storage. You can read tons of information here about the data. Bindle is both a spec and we have the reference implementation here in Rest. And Bindle, we use a silverware drawer to describe it. So when if you have a silverware drawer, you have multiple things there. You could have a fork, a spoon, a knife, and you don't have separate drawers for each of those. You store them together, and then you select what you need for the occasion. So if you're just eating breakfast, you might need a spoon. If you're eating a fancy dinner, you might need those small little soup spoons that you never do, and the chilled salad forks, and the knife and the second knife and all these different things that you need for a more fancy occasion, but they're all stored in the same place. And WebAssembly allows you to do that by composing different parts of an application. And so Bindle is likely to become a good possibility for being like the storage format for WebAssembly. So we've added experimental support to it, to wasmCloud for Bindle. You can actually find all the documentation here. Now, I will very it's not merged yet, but the documentation will be available on here if you want to try it out. It's open on a PR in the docs repo. And it is very, very alpha right now. We don't have any support inside of Wash yet for automatically creating a bindle, so you'll have to manually assemble a bindle. But right now, this provides probably the biggest benefit right now is around provider archives. Right now, they're big tarballs, and whenever you fetch, you have to fetch the whole tarball, and it's quite a time-consuming process. Bindle allows you to select based on your OS and features and download only the stuff you need. And so I've actually just created a simple example using a Bindle server that I'm running locally, and then pointing it at, and then having the Echo actor and the wasmCloud HTTP provider all together. So I'm just going to show that working here. So I'm going to do it from a registry. So right here you'll see this coming from Bindle. To use experimental Bindle support, you just have to preface it with the Bindle protocol. And then this is the Bindle ID. And so then we go ahead and we submit this, and it will go ahead and load it straight from there. I actually cleared all my caches so you can see how fast this is. Yes, I'm running from localhost. I'm not pulling across a network, but you're just going to see how fast each of these go in comparison to loading a provider from a registry the old way. And then we'll go ahead and do Bindle for the HTTP server. And you'll see, bam, instant. Because it only had to download the one binary it actually needed. Once again, this is a local network, so it's going to run it's running faster. But even with a local one, if I had cleared out all the caches like I did, this would have taken at least 10 to 20 seconds to really pull everything and get it started, and it was already going. And so now I'll go ahead and link it like you normally do. So link the Echo actor to the HTTP server on port 8081, and we'll submit it. And then we'll go ahead and do localhost 8081, and you'll see that the Echo actor is running. So that's running from Bindle. And just to show you, I'm not entirely faking this. You'll see all the logs from the Bindle server running locally, that it's getting the invoice from the database and validating everything and pulling the data it needs. So there you go. Pretty simple and straightforward. We're planning on adding more support for this and having it be something. There's an open issue for this in the wasmCloud repo about adding in support for Bindle by default, Bindle as actors, so that this can just be run by default. So you don't have to be dependent on an OCI registry, and it's using a storage format that's more suited for the type of work we do inside of WebAssembly. So that's it for the demo. Any questions?
Taylor, upstream Bindle servers are still something separate that you have to run, right? It's not compatible with an existing OCI registry.
Yeah, it's not currently compatible with it. I'm sure that people could write an OCI shim for it as it gains traction and we solidify some of the parts of the spec. But the idea is for it to be kind of a net new thing. You can read a lot of the justification in the initial README for Bindle about why we did that, but OCI is just not a good storage format for generic things. It's great for images. It's just not really great for storing generic things. And we've been trying to shove all sorts of data in there. And this is a much better way of representing an application as a whole. So in general, just for people who might be new to this and are new to wasmCloud and probably have come from Kubernetes or Docker land, this is the kind of thing where you could bundle various binaries and the Helm chart and this and that and the other thing, and then you can select the parts you need to assemble your application and get it running. And so though that's more of a stretch, there's tools that already do that for you. And I'm not saying that people should do that right now, in Kubernetes and stuff, but here in WASM land, that's a tool that we need. There's nothing that does that right now. There's no way to express relationships between various parts of an application. And so that's why this is a huge benefit right now, but it is not OCI.
Is just out of curiosity, is there Artifact Hub OCI?
Artifact Hub is a conglomeration of different sources. Because if I remember, Artifact Hub also has Helm charts and other things in there, and so it's more of directory of where you can find things. Some of them are images, some of them are Helm charts, some of them are artifacts. It just depends. So yeah, that's a different sort of thing because it's not backed by a single store. It's more of a directory.
Got it. And Matt, glad to see you're on. That's exactly what I was thinking was, is it worthwhile for us to talk to the Artifact Hub team about adding Bindle support? Matt, you want to hop on, share your experience? Or the conversation, or?
Sorry, I'm not where I can talk yet. There we go. Yeah, so I did talk to the Artifact Hub team about this about 3 weeks ago because Matt Farina, who's one of the leads on that, was asking whether Bindle is at the point where they would be able to add support. So they are talking about it. And basically the idea is they would ingest the invoice.toml file and be able to provide all the metadata that you would need in Artifact Hub to search for bindles and find the source of them. So it's pretty cool. It would be fairly straightforward. And of course, they were more than happy to accept patches. So if anybody feels like writing that.
Okay. Well, maybe that's something that we can get on our list as a community call out or good first issue. Matt, thank you so much. And Taylor, thanks for another awesome demo. Speaking of community callouts, I think we're going to hand it off to Brooks for a quick update on community callouts.
Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, you should be able to see GitHub. So the community callout, not everybody who's on this call may have seen it yet, but this is something that I like to do, try to do it every week with a couple of issues that we have in our org that are marked as good first issue. A couple of people on this call have been taking great advantage of this, like Matt Wilkinson, which we'll follow up with one of his PRs in a second. But the goal is to get people who want to contribute to wasmCloud and just don't know exactly where to start, to give them kind of a starting point and nudge them in a direction with something that shouldn't be too high of a lift to get started with and would really provide value to us. So first issue is in Wash. This is something that Taylor filed a little while ago. When you generate a key using wash key gen, it just writes to the file system with a permission of 644. Like this is something that happens automatically when you're signing an actor. We put it near like tilde or home.wash/keys. So ideally, because these keys, or at least the private key part, the seed part is sensitive information, this should be something that can be, read by the current user, but not written to, not executed, etc. So the real goal of this issue is just to change the permissions of the key that's written to disk. So if you're interested in security or want to contribute to Watch for the first time, this is a great point to chime in. Now, the second community call out here is something that is probably going to be a little bit more common in the future. But for now, I've picked something that is, some of the work has already been done. This good first issue is getting the file system capability provider that we wrote for pre-OTP or wasmCloud 0.18, and porting that to the some of the new tooling with Smithy interfaces and the OTP runtime. Now, the reason why I picked this is with the wasmCloud blob store interface that we have already written, we wrote a capability provider to access the file system. And just as a proof of concept, we also wrote one for AWS S3, which acts as a blob store. And accessing the file system with actors isn't something that happens all the time for wasmCloud applications, because the nature of being fully distributed, you don't always know if something's going to be on the local file system. But this is something that's really great for doing local demos, doing proof of concept things. So if you have any experience in Rust or have been looking to dive into writing a capability provider, this is something that all of the resources are available for you. We have our previous file system provider. We have Wash New Provider, which will generate and scaffold a provider project for you. And we have pretty extensive documentation on creating a new provider. So this would be a great place to dive in if you're looking to write a capability provider. So I guess just to wrap this up, these are our two community callouts. If you're interested in taking either of these, please just drop a comment on the issue with any questions that you have, anything really in general. Wouldn't want you to start working on this and then find out that somebody else has already taken it and is already submitting a PR. And we'll be happy to go back and forth. We also have a help channel in our community Slack. So that's it for the good first issues. I have something else that I want to talk about, but does anybody have any questions on these before I move on? Great. Well, as always, I'll post these in the Slack. We'll probably send out a tweet for them as well, so you won't have to hunt them down later on. So the thing there was one other community thing that I wanted to talk about, and Matt, I'm glad that you're on because it's very, very timely. This PR that Matt submitted says just before the holidays, I think he pinged me like right as I was like on the way to the airport. I was like, okay, like I'll take a look at it right when I get back. But I finally got around to looking at it, and this is pretty awesome to give like a TLDR. He's kind of gone through and refactored essentially all of the places where we return output for the wash command line into a new struct called command output, I think. Let me find it. Yeah, command output. And I won't go super far into the implementation, Matt. I'll give you some time if you want to talk about some of the work that you've done. But basically, this spawned from an effort where, you know, we want everywhere in Wash to be able to give you text output if you're just looking at it as a human, and JSON output if you're trying to script with Wash. And in a lot of places, we were correctly returning JSON output for successful commands. We'd get, you know, here's your host, here's the host inventory or something. It wasn't pretty, like it wasn't pretty printed or anything like that, but it would output to the command line. You could pipe it into JQ, do all your scripting, all that stuff. But a lot of the times when something failed, we would just dump that error straight into the command line. And so, you know, two of the biggest things that have happened as a part of this PR are, you know, ensuring that pretty much everything, unless there's a panic, which there's not really a foolproof way to handle in Rust, like even trying to catch and unwind doesn't always work. Errors and successful output, when you do JSON, will give you a nice, pretty printed, formatted JSON output. So this really improves the ability for Wash to be scripted. And the only other thing that I want to say before I give Matt a chance is that some of the best contributions to wasmCloud are the ones that add all these new features and take away code. It's pretty neat. There was all this like copy pasting of the output struct, like whether it's text or JSON, and Matt was able to kind of pull this up and remove a lot of duplication. So just wanted to call this out because this was super awesome, and I think it was a really elegant solution to a problem we were having. So Matt, I don't know if you wanna say anything. This is still kind of in review. I've given it a once over, and everything is good. We'll get one more review on this, and since this is kind of it's not technical, I mean, I don't know, it is a breaking change. It's going to change the way that the output is formatted. So all this stuff is going to come out in Wash, I think 0.8, which this is cool enough that we'll probably try to release that pretty soon after.
Great. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing that I'd add is that I also changed all the errors to use anyhow, which is an error crate commonly used in a lot of different Rust projects. This makes it really easy to, you know, add context to errors. So it's something that should make it easier for people when they want to add new features later to Wash to easily pass up their errors to the using the question mark operator up to the command. So hopefully this makes it a bit easier to keep the commands all consistent and keep the errors consistent as well.
Yeah, overall huge improvement.
Great contribution. And Matt, we've not forgotten about the new contributor T-shirts. We're still finalizing some design before we get it shipped out. We want it to be something that you know, is like you know, just embraces those folks that have taken the time to invest in the community and done contributions. So we will get those published in men's and women's t-shirt here shortly. Brooks has probably asked me for it like a dozen times, and it's been just me, failing to just get it approved and get it out the door. But we'll get those shipped out shortly. And thank you for an awesome contribution. I've got a couple quick community announcements to share before we move on here. We've released the Cloud Native WASM Day Europe website. Coming shortly will be the call for papers. Ralph Squatchy of Microsoft and I are going to try to stretch that date out as long as we can into the future to give everyone as much time as possible to pull together your contributions. So please watch for that. We will shout that loud and proud to get that out there. And then we'll be sending out invitations for the program committee. We are trying to focus the program committee somewhat centered around European participants for this one. And as always, we're going to try to pull in another diverse group of stakeholders to ensure that we continue to build a diverse community for Cloud Native WASM Day. If you didn't hear, we did receive a gold D&I, a Diversity and Inclusion Award, for our last US Cloud Native WASM Day, which was one of our stretch goals that we really tried hard to hit. And I was super excited that we hit that. And we are obviously going to try to keep that running for 2022 as well. A quick community announcement. If you have not heard, there's a new book being released, The Definitive Guide to WebAssembly. And Brian just so happens to be on the call today. If you haven't gotten your copy yet, I suggest you not only order it, and when you do, I suggest you turn right to page 258 for the wonderful section on wasmCloud here. Actually, the book is phenomenal. I've been going through it. Brian, I know you really worked your butt off on this, and I think this is just an absolutely epic contribution to the space and to the community, and a huge round of applause for you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
What's the feedback been so far, Brian, on the book?
Mostly extremely positive. The first review on Amazon was one of these, it's not what I wanted, therefore it sucks kind of reviews, which was a drag. But everything else since then has been extremely positive. And Jay Phelps read it and said, what you attempted to do was like really hard, and I think you pulled it off. So that was meaningful. People like Brooks have given me good feedback on it as well. So it was just trying to target people who were new to it, people who've done it for a while, people who've only done JavaScript, people who are coming to it from Rust and C++. But I did want to tell the big story, and highlighted that there have been fantastic sort of focused stories like Kevin's book so far. And I didn't try to like redo stuff he had done, and I didn't try to redo stuff like Robert Abu Khalil had done for learning leveling up WASM, and just try to create like a library of related books that work together. So yeah, I appreciate the call out. Thank you, and I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying it.
Well, I will get my review published on Amazon shortly. I honestly wanted to take some time and make sure I'd worked through it, so it was like an honest review and not just like say you're amazing, which I know you are anyway, and go from there. So real quick, just open floor. Any other community call outs or anything else happening around the broader community before I turn to a new initiative we have that we're getting kicked off, a new sort of feature set that we're going to be working on together. And then just a quick call out on our roadmap. One of the projects that we've been experimenting with behind the scenes, we have a community member that has been doing some experimental integrations with WASI-NN and machine learning frameworks for wasmCloud. And we've sort of pulled together a rough outline of what we think this work might look like and what our goals are for demo day potentially. So if you are on the wasmCloud Slack already, there's a new machine learning channel. It's wide open. Anyone's free to join. And just watch for us to start sharing some of the early sketch and project work in that folder. And we've kind of outlined a plan. Unfortunately, the team member, the community member that's working on that is European based, and they don't have a good fit for joining us on the meetings. But we're going to try to maybe pull together an out of bands meeting, and if we can do that, I'd like to record a little something so we can put it at least up on our YouTube channel to share some of the work that it's going there. But we'll take our sort of private sketch that we've done and we'll roll that out maybe as an RFC or as a couple of issues on GitHub, just to make sure that we engage and get the feedback and input from everybody across the feedback. And Andrew, I know that I pinged you privately, and thank you for showing up today. I know we'd really appreciate your feedback as we start to get into that.
Sure. Yeah, I went on sabbatical, so I can't remember my Slack login to your guys' Slack. So, but I will figure it out, and I will get in there and try to figure out what you guys are working on. So
it's no problem, buddy. What I'll do is do me a favor, just DM me your Gmail, and I'll add your Gmail as well, because I know it's your I think it's your work account that is that's in there.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll send you.
Okay. I just open floor again. I know we may have some other community items. Bailey, how's the work on the SQL updates coming along? Is there anything you wanted to share or discuss around that work stream?
Well, I wasn't on sabbatical, but I was on a boat for 2 weeks, so I'm kind of getting back to things. I haven't been working on it in the new year, but I do plan on diving in. I saw there was one question while I was out about the developer experience, where when you're working in an individual actor where you're writing the query, you're not able to use things that would at compile time tell you if the scheme has changed, and that is one bit of friction that I've run into. I was interested in Stuart's perspective on that answer, but one wacko idea I had was having a concept of export on a capability provider, export what you need, and then at compile time, use that in your test, but not at runtime, so that you can have all the same capability contracts that capability providers have through the link. But having a way at compile time to kind of bypass that so that you can have tests that give you a better developer experience. But I haven't posted that anywhere in GitHub or anything. That was one idea. I can respond to the Slack thing, but I was really interested in hearing kind of the people who set up a lot of that, what their perspective was. And I said Stuart earlier, and I should have said Steve.
And I don't think Steve's not on today, is he? I would actually, Stuart, I think you would probably have a good opinion on this as well, given the epic WASM Day talk that you guys gave at KubeCon US. I know you guys are doing some really cool things. Stuart's team was the Red Badger team that did the helping a large European financial replatform on declarative multi-cloud, wasmCloud, something on Kubernetes. It was like the world's longest title. It was like three full lines in 12-point font.
Yeah, Bailey, happy to have a conversation offline. I need to understand it a bit better, I think, before I have an opinion.
Okay. Well, Bailey, I'll bump Steve to make sure he follows up on Slack. Open floor. Anyone else have any other topics they'd want to follow up on today? Okay, well, as always, I'll stop recording and we can hang out and just chit chat for the time for those that want to stay. But thank you so much for all the new members and everybody that joined us on YouTube and other platforms. Have a great day.